Tonight, we had another rocket launch. This time from, is one I don't think that I've ever talked about, just because it's been a long time since they launched their last rocket. But tonight, the United Launch Alliance, ULA, launched their Delta IV Heavy, which is the third highest capacity rocket in the world. The rocket that carries the most weight is the SpaceX Falcon Heavy, and then right behind it is the made in China. The rocket's actually called Long March 5, and then the Delta IV Heavy. Not that long ago, they used the Delta IV Heavy to launch the Parker Solar Probe, which went to the sun. They sent it to the sun to, do scientific experiments, and it was a specially designed satellite so it could withstand the heat coming off the sun. If you look at the Delta IV, it's just like any other. It's a multi-stage rocket. It has a first stage and then a second stage, and then a payload would sit on top of that. For the Parker Solar Probe, they actually put one more stage up on top of that, up on top of the second stage, to give it an extra kick to get it going fast enough to get to the sun. It also has the two boosters on the side. So at liftoff, all three engines immediately go to 100, and then immediately after it lifts off, they throttle the center stage, the main rocket, they throttle it back down to about 55%, and it runs at about 55% almost the entire way up. And they do that so that first stage can last longer, so that it's running at 55, but the two outer boosters are both running at 100%. It goes up. Once those boosters are spent, they jettison them off and they fall back. And then that center stage throttles back up to 100%. It runs for like a minute and 26 seconds after it's throttled all the way back up before it's done. Then they drop that stage off, and then the second stage ignites. One thing that is different about the launch, though, whereas different rocket companies do use different fuels. Like SpaceX uses a mixture of liquid oxygen and high-density kerosene. That's their fuels that they use in theirs. Well, the Delta IV Heavy, and probably all the other Delta versions as well, use a mixture of liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen. So right as it's getting ready to lift off, you see this big plume of fire coming up the side of the rocket, and it makes the rocket all black and dirty. That is because of the fuel that it's using. That's because it's the hydrogen, the liquid hydrogen that it's burning. Once those explosive bolts blow and it lifts up off the pad, then all that the burning fuels are directed down to give it the thrust to lift it up. I guess it's another good thing that's coming along in the space industry, because not only do we have all these other projects going, Blue Origin, and then we have SpaceX doing their thing with the Falcon 9, and then the Starship high altitude test yesterday was incredible, and I posted a video about it last. You can go back and watch it. And then that rocket, that Starship exploded when it touched down. NASA's SLS Orion, which is also being developed, as you probably heard me talk about before. They're not identical, but they do look quite a bit alike. But on top of that, ULA is also developing a new line of rockets that will be coming out soon, like one they're calling Vulcan. And they're also producing a new a second stage, which is called Centaur. So there's so many different things going on in the space world. But tonight, ULA launched a spy satellite, NROL 44, for the National Reconnaissance Office. So because it's a spy satellite, we only get to watch the launch. They don't want anyone knowing. Well, they probably don't want anyone knowing what the satellite looks like. They don't want anyone knowing where it's being released at, over what part of the world. its coordinates for other countries to find, that kind of stuff. So basically, we'll see the launch. We should be able to see stage separation, and then that'll be it. We won't get to see anything else tonight, but it's always a really cool opportunity to get to witness a Delta IV Heavy, to get to see one of those launches. It's always really cool because this is a massive beast of a rocket. Either way, let's watch ULA launch a Delta IV with a spy satellite on board.
We are dreamers, inspired by possibilities not yet imagined.
Go. SYS. Go. ESE. Go. Timer. Go. ECS. Go. QE. Go. USO. Go. OSM. Go. VSE. VSE is go. ALC. Go. AC. AC is go. RC. Clear to proceed. Launch director. The launch vehicle is ready to launch. Mission director. You have permission to launch.
Seconds.
Status check. Go Delta. Go NROL 44.
T-minus 10,
10,
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, main engine ignition, 3, 2, 1, 0, and liftoff. Liftoff, the United Launch Alliance Delta IV Heavy rocket carrying the NROL 44 mission for the National Reconnaissance Office.
On all three RCPA engines look good in full thrust mode. Now 15 seconds into flight, vehicle's begun the pitch over maneuver. Body rate response look good.
You are hearing the voice of Patrick Moore providing launch vehicle asset data.
25 seconds into flight, engine operating parameters continue to look good. Body rate response look good. Now 30 seconds in. Standing by for core booster throttle down momentarily. And core booster has begun throttling down as expected. The partial thrust level, engine response looks good. Core booster has achieved partial thrust level as expected. Now 50 seconds into flight. Engine operating parameters continue to look good on all three engines. Now passing 1 minute into flight. Delta IV is now 4.3 miles in altitude, 5.8 miles downrange distance, traveling at 1,200 miles per hour. And strap-on engines have begun throttling down in preparation for engine cutoff. And we've seen good indication of separation of the port and starboard boosters. Core booster is throttled back up to full thrust as expected. Engine response looks good. And we have good indication of separation of the first and second stages. Nozzle extension on the RL-10 is deploying. We have pre-start. We have ignition and full thrust on the RL-10. Chamber pressure on the RL-10 looks good. Body rate responses look good on the DCSS.
At our customer's request, we'll now terminate our live coverage.